So by now you've probably used a sweep feature before. A sweep involves a profile dragged along a path, and while it's a fairly useful feature, it's fairly limited in terms of the profiles that you can create. A lofted feature allows you to use two profiles or multiple profiles to create a solid geometry instead of having you use a path. If we go into the lofted feature here, from here we can select out profiles to start off the loft. I'll start by selecting the second circle there and the third, and we can see the result of that is a cone essentially. The way the loft works is that it creates a boundary at the top and a boundary at the bottom based on the profiles, and then it tries to connect the profiles as best it can. In this case we have a very simple cone geometry because the profiles themselves are very simple. But you'll also notice within the loft that we see two connection points, or two green dots. And we can see that currently it's straight, and that's the reason why it has this cone shape. If we were to move it, it actually twists the way the profiles are connected. So if you can imagine, SOLIDWORKS tries to create a surface or multiple surfaces connecting the two profiles based on a series of connectors. So the way in which the profiles are selected is also very important because of these connection points. In this case, we chose the profiles out in the graphics area, but you also have the option of choosing them within the feature tree. And the difference here is the feature tree, if you select them here, SOLIDWORKS will automatically populate where it thinks connectors should go. Whereas if you select them in the workspace, it'll connect based on where you click on each profile. So you can see that it actually twisted the path based on where I clicked on both profiles. So if you know where you want the points to connect, I would select out the profiles in the graphics area. If you want SOLIDWORKS to populate what the default option would be, it's better to just select them out in the feature tree. Now from here, I'm going to go ahead and select out the Sketch 1, Sketch 2, and up to this point we've only done two profiles, and so we've had this first order connection between the two parts. So this is essentially a flat surface, or essentially a single slope surface. And if I select a third profile, and you can see it's actually trying to connect that first profile and the third, if we just move this up to the right order there, you can see it actually connects these by a curve as opposed to just straight lines. I'm not sure exactly what order or how the orders increase as you select more profiles, but with two profiles it would probably be a second order, and with the fourth profile I'm not sure if SOLIDWORKS takes it further beyond that. And once in a while when you select things out of order and try to reorder them, the connection points get a little messed up. So we can just come back in, delete these out, and just go in order. And that should connect the sketches. In this case, it seems to not quite know how to properly connect these together, so we could either go back in and select these profiles manually, or we can adjust the connectors ourselves. So there's another option. We can right click and say show all connectors, and we can actually drag these out and fix the profile that way. If we exit out of the loft though, you'll notice that there's still a bit of twist in the profiles. Because of the way the connectors work, SOLIDWORKS connects these 4 points on the square to 4 different locations on the circle. It tries to find the same number of connectors between two profiles, In this case, because the circles have 0 points on them, it automatically chooses that 4 points by default. To remove the twist, we can actually go back into the profiles and add split points to the circles to get a straight path through this. So if I delete out the loft, in order to get the loft to connect properly, we'll go ahead and add split points into the circle. So we'll first go into the third sketch there. And the first thing I'm going to do is go into the shortcuts bar by pressing S and right click in and customize. And I'm going to come down to the sketch tools and drag in this split entities. And the reason we want to bring this in is we don't want to have to go into the tools and sketch tools to access the split entities every time we want to add a split. So I'll go ahead and choose the split entities and add in 4 points. Then I want to go ahead and draw a center line from the mid to the other side of the circle there. And I just want to go ahead and control select the point and the arc and make that the midpoint, and do the same on the other side. Then I want to go ahead and make this coincident to the origin. And then I'll go ahead and make one of these points and the origin horizontal. Lastly here, we're going to add an angle to the points from that center line, and we'll do that by selecting the 3 points there, setting that to 45 degrees, and the same on the other side. And we'll set that to 45. And exit the sketch. And we just want to do that with the other 2 sketches. And once again for the last circle. Okay, now that we have all those entities split, the profile should connect itself with no problems. You may ask what happens with the points on the ends of those center lines. The loft will only see split points, so it only sees joints. It doesn't consider the center line going across a joint. So it'll just see the 4 points on each sketch. From here we can go in and create our loft once again. And we'll just choose out the profiles by the matching corner points there. And if we exit out of the loft now, we can see we have a nice uniform profile going across the loft. So keep in mind when working with lofts how the connections work between profiles. You may need to add in split entities or work with the connection points to modify the loft profile.